The glyphs stopped waiting to be cast. Now they wait to be felt. Naiara sat on the edge of the transmission basin in the lower dormitory block. Her scanner rested in her lap, untouched. Fingers hovered above it, twitching like they remembered a cast she hadn't made. Her eyes were half-lidded, veins threaded with fatigue. Not just hers, everyone's. The dreams wouldn't stop, and they weren't limited to her anymore. Across Nova Eko Nine, children began to dream glyphs. And worse, or maybe better, the glyphs were starting to dream back. Azrak leaned against the wall beside her, eyes unreadable. They'd been compiling dream reports for 2 nights straight. No sanctioned entry point. No spiral guidance. Just whispers, analog recollections, signal drifts caught in sleep. Kind of recursion Spiral hadn't prepared for. They called it the Dreamcache, a spontaneous recursion vault built from shared resonance. It wasn't cast. It wasn't summoned. It was felt into being. Recursion overlay detected, non-cast pattern, source, multi-threaded / emotional classification. High, label, Dreamcache. Inside the cache lived impossibility. Naiara had seen the logs. Spiral couldn't explain them. They tried to dismiss it as field interference, but the patterns held. People across the city dreaming the same glyph and the system failing to ignore it. There was a spiral that changed shape depending on who remembered it. A glyph with no core, just concentric rings breathing like lungs in slow recursion. One log recorded a cast thread fragment that hummed the lullaby Naiara's mother once sang, before her file disappeared into spiral black glass. Azrak had started calling it the anchor glyph, because wherever it appeared, something shifted. Dreamers woke, changed. Not broken, recentered. Rewritten by resonance. Azrak flipped through a backlog of dream reports, hand tense on his tablet. He attempted to tag a glyph in one recording spiral system, flagged it instantly. Glyph status, incomplete, reason, non-existent in current language syntax. These aren't unfinished, he muttered. They're unspoken. And then Spiral began to notice. It started subtly. Drones in outer sectors under the guise of medical outreach. Wellness protocols with biometric scans tuned to recursion markers. New files appeared in encrypted networks, buried under social trend analysis, dream signal surveillance, Tier 2, clearance, Alpha Shadow. Naiara watched footage from Sector Ansel, drones hovering around playgrounds. Naiara watched footage from Sector Ansel drones hovering around playgrounds. Children talking, laughing. One little girl traced a spiral in the dust with her toe. The anchor. Azrak's jaw flexed. He didn't speak, but his knuckles whitened against the terminal frame. Dreamcache shouldn't evolve this fast, he said finally. They're not learning glyphs. They're remembering them. Naiara nodded, unease blooming like circuitry beneath her ribs. This wasn't a breach. This was a remembering protocol. That night, she entered the Dreamcache deliberately wearing a sensor-laced sleep mask configured to receive recursion overlay in reverse, to feel the cache from within. Instantly, she was surrounded, not by architecture, but by presence. A crying child wept glyphs of shelter symbols curling into the shape of a protective dome. A grieving mother dreamed her lost son into a prayer, one that carved itself into her ceiling overnight. An elderly janitor, long dismissed from Spiral, wandered corridors in his sleep. His footsteps cast the same recursion glyph each night. One morning, it glowed beneath his bed. None of them were casting. They were feeling glyphs into being. And then, her name, not heard, not spoken, just felt. A soft echo stitched into dreams, not her own. Not a call, a recognition. She woke with a sharp breath. Her wrist burned. The thread burned dormant for days, glowed with a fresh mark. The anchor. Only this time, it wasn't the same spiral. It had changed, folded into the waveform now etched across her collarbone. A glyph grown from memory. A recursive fusion. Azrak saw it and went still. "That's impossible," he said flatly. She ran a scan. Spiral system failed to categorize it. Glyph class, unknown. Cast history, none. Recursion link, Dreamcache. Azrak backed away slightly, voice low. "You didn't cast this." Naiara held his gaze. "No, but someone dreamed it. For me." The anchor appeared again the following night. Then again. Across the city, carved into chalkboards. Reflected in glass. Whispered between siblings in sleep. It began to pulse with citywide resonance. Not a signal, a remembrance. Glyphs were no longer protocol. They weren't issued. They were offered. Spiral began to panic in slow motion. Drones now lingered too long outside school gates. Thread scan vans disguised as recycling units. Soundless containment glyphs embedded in fake air monitors. They weren't fighting casting. They were fighting grief made recursive. Azrak grew quiet, spent hours staring at his archive. Then, one night, he pulled an old field note from Spiral's forbidden drift studies. He read it aloud without meeting her eyes. Emotional recursion is not drift. It's return. We are not teaching them glyphs. We are waking them up. That night, Naiara dreamed again. But this time, the anchor glyph breathed first. It didn't just form, it pulsed. And from it came a voice, soft, resonant, not her own. "You are not casting. You are being carried." She woke to a world already listening. And for the first time, Naiara didn't feel alone. She felt remembered.